All right, boys. Let's talk a little Killmonger. Before we get into how to fight him, you really got to understand a lot of his mechanics. So here we got a 565 SIG level 200, right? One of the biggest kind of caveats with him that you got to watch out for is his reverberation, which I'm going to come back and touch on. A couple of the easier things to talk about. Everybody kind of knows, if he takes a debuff, he gains power. Well, not everybody really understands the mechanic of how it works. So when he receives a debuff with vibranium armor active, he gets 15% of his missing power. So when he has no power and you parry him, he gets like almost half a bar of power, and you're like, holy shit, that's so much power. But if he's already got 2 bars of power, he's getting like an 1/8 of a bar of power as you apply debuff. So he gets less and less power the more power he has from your debuffs. And again, he only gets it when vibranium armor is active. If vibranium armor is disabled from an armor break, like from Medusa, he doesn't gain power. And so I'm going to do a fight at the end with Medusa to show you how easy he is just to rinse down, as Seaton would say it, with with Medusa or an armor break champion. And we all know he gets True Strike, if he evades one of your S1s, don't miss with your special. Okay. His special one gives him 2 counterpunch charges, which I will demonstrate that too with an Iceman. Not that it really matters who I'm using, but I'll demonstrate that. So he does his Iceman and he gets 2 counterpunch charges, meaning if you hit into his block, he's going to be able to immediately counter it. Finally, his special 2, gives him the 3 indestructible charges. I find his special 2, the easiest to avoid, and I'll kind of go over those mechanics in the fights. So basically, after he does an S2, make sure you hit him with like 3 hit. Like if you've got an S3 built up and he does an S2, don't fire it off right away. You got to hit him 3 times and get rid of those 3 indestructible charges before you fire off that S3, or whatever big hit you're thinking about doing. Go ahead and smack him in like a medium light at the very least before you do anything else. So those are the highlights. Let's talk about reverberation. And this is another thing, if vibranium armor is down, he won't get reverberation. But the way reverberation works is, his vibranium armor will be the little blue shield, and reverberation will be a blue circle with a little like arrow in it, and I'll go over that mechanic in a fight. When he's hit, he deals damage back to you. And the damage that he does is based on how much power he has. So if he's already got 2 bars and you smack him with a big old fat, S2 or whatever, it's going to come right back and bite you in the ass. So you want to make sure that if you're hitting him with something big, he doesn't have a reverberation active. Generally, you want to try to avoid hitting him while reverberation's active. A lot of times it's not a big deal, depending on the champ you're using, depending on the fight you're using. So that's that's something to look at, and we'll talk about that as I go through a couple fights. Back to the power gain. People say, don't use champs that deal bleed or have dots or whatever. Kinda like Gwenpool is not the best one to use for it, but Archangel, for example, will just wipe him out, and I'll do a fight with Archangel to show you how you can just rinse him down. So without further ado, let's get into dueling this guy. All right, so I'm going to use all 4 stars on this guy, just to make it a little more realistic as far as the level disparity for AQ and AW and stuff like that. I'm going to start with Iceman. So notice right off the bat, look at that power. Like a whole bar. Hit him one time, he got a whole bar of power. So that's kind of one thing to watch out for. So now he's got 4 stacks of counterpunch, so I don't want to hit into his block. So I'm watching out. See, I don't want to hit into his block right now because he got the counter punch. Now watch when I parry him. See, notice he got very little power on that parry because he already had 2 bars of power. See, he doesn't have his counter punch, so I can hit into his block. I'm going to try to bait the S2. You just kind of dash back to create some distance, and generally he'll go ahead and throw it off. Pop off, got to get rid of that indestructible after he does his S2. Right now I'm trying to bait out of S1 so he gets counter punches because I want to show you what happens when you hit into a block when he has counter punches. Okay, there's his S1. So he's got 2 counter punches. So I want him to get into a block so that I can hit into his counter punches and show you what happens. I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen it, but just want to demonstrate. See that? He immediately goes unstoppable and immediately counters you and will mess you up. So, you got to watch out for that. So you can see that special 1 and special 2, they're both pretty easy to avoid. So, whichever one you prefer to bait out is fine. Here I'm going to go ahead and show you how easy it is to just rinse this guy down with fucking Archangel. Now notice he did get a ton of energy right off the bat. So if he's on a power gain node or something like that, yeah, maybe Archangel is not the best solution. But otherwise, I mean, look, 20 hits, he's already almost dead. I only had to bait out, look at that, 26 hits, he's dead. I only had to bait out an S2 once. After that, he's just down. So unless it's a power gain node, Archangel's probably your best bet. Now I'm gonna fight him with Star-Lord, because you think, well, Star-Lord does some pretty beefy damage. He doesn't put any debuffs except on S2. So, sure, let's go ahead and try it. And plus, one of his possible debuffs from S2 is armor break. So do a parry. Got a good amount of power from that. At the S1, you just dash back twice and then wait for the drop kick and dash back again. Now, Vibranium armor's up. It's on cooldown right now. You can see the little gray reverberation cooldown. So now the reverberation cooldown is done. So when I hit, okay, so baited out of S2, he has no power. Reverberation's up. The damage he deals back to me on reverberation is based on how much power he had when it was activated. And he had almost no power, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But now, and our armor broke, so vibranium armor is gone. But now reverberation's up. He had over 2 bars of power when reverberation was active. So look at this damage I'm taking, right? Look at that massive amount of damage I just took from reverberation because of how much damage I'm doing and how much power he had when reverberation was active. So that's the biggest thing I want to talk about with reverberation. Now let me show you how easy this guy is to get down with somebody like Medusa that just lays on the armor breaks because he won't gain power, he won't get reverberation, and it's pretty much just easy champ, easy life. And now what Seaton says. So armor break, so he's not gaining any power. Armor shatter, I'm not getting any reverberation. Baited out the S2, and guess what? No indestructible because he didn't have vibranium armor. He can't get indestructible if he doesn't have vibranium armor. So here it is. I just basically just rinse him down with the S2 and call it a day. So hope you guys liked that video and hope it was helpful. And I'll catch you guys next time.